Picture this. On the freezing ice world of Hoth, a desperate rebellion is literally hiding in the snow. Far from the reach of the galactic core, the Rebel Alliance has actually set up a secret outpost, completely surrounded by a lifeless, frozen wasteland. But, the galaxy is incredibly vast, and the reach of their greatest enemy is spreading like wildfire. And the stakes of our story here are driven by this one singular, obsessive pursuit. Darth Vader, serving his Emperor, has dispatched thousands of probe droids out across the entire galaxy. Because he's not just looking for the Rebel Alliance, he's hunting for a specific target. The young rebel, the son of Skywalker, the very guy who destroyed the Death Star. And guess what? One of those probe droids has just transmitted a faint signal right from the Hoth system. Naturally, the Empire's response is immediate and just completely crushing. Massive Imperial forces arrive on the scene and kick off a brutal ground assault, specifically targeting the main power generators. The sheer firepower of the Empire here is overwhelming, forcing the rebels into a really chaotic, totally desperate evacuation. Amid the collapsing base and all those blaring evacuation codes, the narrative totally splits. We see rebel transports punching through the blockade with barely any escort, facing truly impossible odds. In all the chaos, Princess Leia is actually cut off from her transport, so she and the protocol droid C-3PO are forced to flee with the smuggler Han Solo and Chewbacca aboard the Millennium Falcon. Meanwhile, our young hero, Luke Skywalker, he charts a completely different course. Instead of regrouping with the rest of the rebel fleet, Luke sets his navigation computer for this mysterious, uncharted world. Because right before the Battle of Hoth, while he was freezing out in the snow, Luke had a powerful vision of his old mentor, Ben, and the message was crystal clear: go to the Dagobah system. There, he'll learn from Yoda, the legendary Jedi Master, who actually instructed Ben. So from here, our heroes are essentially forced onto these parallel journeys. On one hand, you have Luke crash-landing his X-Wing into a murky, desolate, literally fog-choked swamp on Dagobah. On the other hand, Han and Leia are caught in this crazy, high-speed, life-or-death chase. With the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive totally busted, they can't jump to light speed, and those Imperial Star Destroyers are closing in incredibly fast. Faced with mathematically impossible odds, Han's reckless, totally defiant nature just refuses to accept defeat. He actually plunges the Millennium Falcon directly into a deadly, chaotic asteroid field. He dives closer to the massive rocks, weaving right through the debris, banking on the pretty solid assumption that the Empire would be absolutely crazy to follow them in. Now, swinging back over to the quiet isolation of Dagobah, Luke is searching for a legendary Jedi. But instead, he meets this frustrating, peculiar little local creature who roots through his supplies and really tests his patience. But this is actually a profound lesson in appearances. It's a reminder for all of us that true greatness doesn't always look the part, because this strange small creature suddenly reveals himself to be exactly who Luke is looking for: Yoda, the Jedi Master. The whole core of this story really hinges on a deep philosophical divide. Yoda teaches that a Jedi's strength flows from the Force, demanding a state of calm, peace, and passivity, used only for knowledge and defense. The dark side, on the flip side, is not stronger, but it is quicker. It's easier, and it's super seductive. It feeds entirely on anger, fear, and aggression. And Yoda gives this massive warning: once you start down the dark path, it will forever dominate your destiny. But Luke's greatest hurdle right now is his own mind. He literally has to unlearn what he has learned. When his sunken ship needs to be lifted out of the swamp, Luke just declares the task impossible because of its massive size. But Yoda's iconic response hits the nail on the head, reminding us that size matters not. We are luminous beings, not just crude matter. And then Yoda effortlessly lifts the ship with the Force, proving that Luke's only real failure is his total lack of belief. Meanwhile, deep inside the asteroid field, Han and Leia think they finally found a safe haven in a cave to just repair their broken hyperdrive. But wait, something is really wrong. The ground doesn't quite feel like rock. And then the terrifying truth is revealed. This is no cave. They have literally flown straight into the belly of a massive space beast. Barely escaping its crushing jaws, the Falcon is thrust right back out into the Empire's waiting scopes. So, totally outmatched and still lacking a working hyperdrive, Han pulls this absolutely brilliant, desperate maneuver. He charges a Star Destroyer and abruptly attaches the Falcon right to its blind spot. When the Imperial ship dumps its garbage before jumping to lightspeed, the Falcon just floats away perfectly undetected with the debris. It's a genius move. Han then sets a really risky course for Bespin, a Tabana gas mine up in the clouds run by his old acquaintance Lando Calrissian. Back across the galaxy on Dagobah, Luke's growing connection to the Force grants him this absolutely terrifying vision of the future. He literally sees a city in the clouds and he sees his friends suffering. Driven by those strong attachments, Luke makes a sudden, highly dramatic decision. He feels he absolutely must abandon his training and rush to their aid, truly believing his newfound abilities can save them. Both Yoda and the Spirit of Ben practically beg Luke to stay. Yoda issues this super dire warning. Vader is strong, and a half-trained Jedi is incredibly vulnerable to that seductive pull of the dark side we talked about. Yoda insists that to defeat the Emperor, Luke has to complete his training, even if it actually means sacrificing Han and Leia for the greater good. But the reckless young Skywalker, he chooses to completely ignore the warning and flies right away. And well, Luke's vision was totally accurate. Upon arriving at the beautiful cloud city of Bespin, Han and Leia's incredibly warm welcome very quickly turns into a complete nightmare. Their host, Lando Calrissian, has been totally backed into a corner. To keep the Empire from shutting down his small mining operation, Lando has made a devastating deal, literally opening the dining room door to reveal Darth Vader and a bounty hunter just waiting for them. Vader has executed this absolutely brutal, highly calculated plan. See, he never actually wanted Han or Leia. They are literally just the bait. Vader intends to capture Skywalker and freeze him in carbonite for safe transport back to the Emperor. But because the mining facility is kinda crude, Vader decides to test the dangerous freezing process on Captain Solo first, handing him right over to the bounty hunter. What follows is honestly one of the most tragic, emotionally charged moments of the entire narrative. Standing on the literal edge of the freezing pit, completely unsure if he will even survive the process, Han and Leia share a desperate goodbye. Her declaration of love is met with his confident, totally heartbreaking response right before he is lowered into the chamber and frozen into a solid block of carbonite. Literally, right as Han is taken away, Luke Skywalker finally lands in the city. Blasters drawn, he creeps through the quiet halls, walking directly into the carbon-freezing chamber. The trap is officially sprung. Darth Vader emerges from the shadows, acknowledging Luke's raw power, but chillingly reminding him of his fatal lack of experience, which is exactly what Yoda had warned him about. While Luke faces off against Vader, the situation everywhere else rapidly shifts. Vader keeps altering his deal, declaring Leia and Chewbacca will not remain in the city, but will actually be taken to his ship. This totally pushes Lando over the edge. He quickly orders his guards to disarm the stormtroopers, freeze Leia and Chewie, and desperately tries to stop the bounty hunter's ship. When they fail, R2-D2 overrides the security doors, and they escape the city in the Millennium Falcon, leaving Luke utterly alone. The duel between Luke and Vader is just fierce and completely overwhelming. Vader batters the young rebel with flying debris, forcing him out onto a perilous gantry hovering over a massive central shaft. Beaten, totally exhausted, and with his right hand literally severed by Vader's blade, Luke is backed into a literal and psychological corner. And then, Vader strikes with a truth far more devastating than any physical blow. Here we are hit with the earth-shattering twist that totally redefines the entire story. Obi-Wan didn't tell him the whole truth. Darth Vader actually is Anakin Skywalker. As Luke screams in total denial, Vader offers him a dark, incredibly seductive choice. Join him, fully embrace the dark side, destroy the Emperor, and together they can rule the galaxy as father and son. Luke's spirit is absolutely broken. But you know what? His resolve to resist the dark side remains. He totally refuses Vader's offer. In an act of pure, absolute desperation, Luke just lets go, plunging deep into the perilous abyss of the floating city. Weak and quickly fading, he uses the Force to call out to the literally only person who can hear him, Leia. High above, fleeing in the Falcon, Leia actually hears his plea. She immediately orders Chewbacca to turn the ship right around. Completely defying the overwhelming Imperial presence, they swoop down to the very bottom of the city, pop the top hatch, and pull a battered, totally exhausted Luke to safety just as Vader's forces are closing in. But the nightmare isn't quite over. As the Falcon tries to flee, Vader's flagship locks them in a tractor beam. The city's computer told Lando the hyperdrive was fixed, but Vader's men had secretly deactivated it. In a completely nail-biting climax, it's the little astromech droid, R2-D2, who pieces together the deception. He interfaces with the ship's computer, fixes the hyperdrive at the exact last possible second, and the Falcon jumps to light speed, slipping right through Vader's fingers. Which leaves us with a profound, lingering question. Luke is fitted with a new mechanical hand, staring out into the spinning galaxy alongside Leia and the droids. They have survived, sure, but the victory feels incredibly hollow. As Lando and Chewbacca set off on a mission to find Jabba the Hutt and the bounty hunter, the story is just left wide open, filled with loss, wild revelation, and the incredibly uncertain hope that they can eventually rescue their friend.